What are you wearing?
You said to get disguises.
No, take that off. Okay. Did you at least bring a gun?
Yeah.
How are we supposed to rob this totally real bank with a Nerf gun?
Well, it's the only one I could find.
Where's Lenny?
He had to babysit.
He's supposed to be the driver. How are we supposed to get the big score? In the big score, you are playing a crime boss, and you are going to eventually attempt to rob the new Centennial Bank. But first, you have to do some smaller jobs here to kind of work up before you go on to the big bank. So, to set up, every player is going to grab a player board for whichever crime boss they want. And then each crime boss is going to have a starting item. Now, explaining the items here, there are different values that they're going to be at the very end of the game, and whoever has the most loot is the one who wins the game. So, you have hard drives here, and if you have a hard drive without a key, that is worth absolutely nothing at the end of the game. But if you happen to manage to get a key, and the keys are found in the bank, so if you happen to manage to have a hard drive and a key, you're going to get 200K for that. There are also artifacts that you can get from various locations, including the bank. They are worth 30K each, and if you happen to have the majority of them, you're going to get 250K. There are also these diamonds. Now, diamonds that you can get from the various small jobs, and of course you can get those from the bank. And the more diamonds you have, the more that you have a total amount for those. So that is the stuff. You'll also find these silver bars and these gold bars. Those are only found in the bank. So you'll have one of these little sheets. You will have whichever crime boss that you want. And then, as I said, you're going to choose what starting bonus you want. So I can start off with 100K, or I can start off with a locked hard drive. Now, looking at the payout sheet, again, if I manage to unlock this hard drive, it's going to be double that 100K. So do you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start off with that locked hard drive right now. You will also grab a Jack of all trades token. This can be used for these small jobs in case you're missing somebody. And then you're also going to grab 200K worth of cash from the little tokens right here, which I've already grabbed right there. And then you'll also have these tokens, which have your portrait on them, and these will have numbers on them, and these are for the small jobs that are here at the top of the table here. So once you have all of that, you are ready to play. Gone ahead and put out a couple other players here just so we can see how the beginning phase works. Now with 3 players, every player is going to be given 8 cards from this crew deck. So you're going to have your hand of 8 cards, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do some drafting. And we're going to be drafting based on what these small jobs are. And there are different types of crew. So for example, let's look at this art gallery right here. So if you manage to have a driver, what is that one called? A greaseman and a hacker at this location, you're going to get 20K and an artifact, which is fantastic. Now, the higher up the reward, the more crew you're going to need. So, this nightclub right here needs a conman, a driver, 2 gunmen, and a heavy. But that will give you 50K worth of goods towards the end of the game. So, one thing I really like is how they have simplified drafting in this game. So, let's just move some stuff out of the way here. This is how we're all sitting here around the table. So, I'm going to look at the cards in my hand. I'm going to go ahead and choose one, and I put that right below my board. I don't put it on my board, I put it below my board. And then I go ahead and look in the direction of the arrow that is right here, because because it says for drafting in rounds 1 and 3, you're going to go in that direction. So I'm going to take my remaining 7 cards, look at my player's board, the next player's board, and see if they have anything on their board. If they have nothing on their board, I go ahead and pass my cards onto their board. If there are cards already there, you do not pass anything until their board is empty. And that is one thing that's fantastic, because I have played drafting games before where all of a sudden there's a deck of cards off to the side here, and we've been drafting for a couple rounds, and we're like, well, hey a minute, where did these come from? Oh, when we messed up, when we have to redraft the entire round or figure out how to see what went wrong. But I really, really like that. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to draft up these cards. And once you have completed a full round of drafting, you will have a hand of cards. And hopefully it's stuff that you need to do these various jobs here. So let me get rid of La Femme and the Brute. And let's go ahead and move all my stuff back up here. And we will show you how you assign crew to these small jobs. So, as I said, we have these tokens with these numbers on them. So what you're going to do in secret is you're going to look at all of your cards, and you're going to go ahead and assign crew to these different jobs here. Now, the jobs have numbers assigned to them, so that way you'll be able to match them. And you're going to do this without discussion around the board. So let's see what we have here. So we have right here, we have the con man, the driver, and the muscle, and that is everything we need for this corporate office if you wanted to. So that might be a possibility for that. Okay, we have a driver, a greaseman, and a hacker, and that would be good for this art gallery. It'll give you 20K and an artifact. But if I add in this gunman, that'll bump us up to the museum. So, do we want to go ahead and go for that? Now, also looking at what we have here, we can go ahead and put a few more out here, because looking, there's a factory over here, and this factory needs a con man, a greaseman, 2 hackers, and a heavy. Well, we have 2 hackers, we have a con man, we have a greaseman, and we have the heavy. So we could go ahead and go for this number 5 here, which leaves us with these right here. So we have to decide what we want to do. Now, also, the other players are doing the same thing at the same time. They're deciding. Now, if you are missing a few people from your hand, your opponent's crew also count towards completing the bonus. You're going to combine your crews to see if the jobs get done. So I could count on, let's just say that we're going to go ahead and, let's go for this museum right here. So I'm just going to put these face up here, but I'm going to place my number 3. I'm going to put these cards right below it. So we need a driver, we need a greaseman, we need a gunman, and we need a hacker. So that's all that is complete. If anybody else goes there, they'll also get that reward. And what do we have left here? We have the con man, we have a hacker, we have the muscle, but we are missing the greaseman for number 5. But you know what? I think that might be worth attempting to do there. So these will all go face down here, and they're not going to go directly below the actual things. You're just going to place them on your side there. And you're going to go ahead and do that. Now, I do have this lone driver here. I could go ahead and try to assign him to a job and hope that somebody else went there as well. Or I can just go ahead and trash the driver so I don't risk anything. If you end up going to a job and do not complete it, that is going to cost you 20K of the cash that you started off the game with, and you don't really want to be losing any money. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to stick this driver underneath my trash icon. I am all done. We wait for everybody else to finish up, make sure all of their cards are underneath a token. And then we go down the line and we see which jobs have been completed. So we go down the line now and we see if anybody did job number 1. If anybody did and they were successful, everybody that was that sent crew to that will get the full reward. You do not split the rewards at all. So did anybody do number 2? No, we were thinking about number 2, but we opted out because number 3 had 10K more worth of stuff. So we went ahead and did that. So number 3, did anybody do number 3? And yes, I flip over my number 3 to prove that I did. And I flip over my cards there. And we have completed that 100%. So we will go ahead and collect the reward, which is 30K. Boom, and one of these artifacts. So I have that. Just stick that right below your board here into your little stash, and then you go on down the line. Now we did number 5 here. So number 5, we are missing a hacker and we're missing a grease man. So we are betting that somebody else sent some crew there. So let's just say one of my opponents also sent over a muscle, a common, and a grease man. So what you'll do is you will compare here and see how close you are to completing that job. So we needed 1 con man, we have 2, so we are good there. We needed 1 grease man, we have that, check. We needed 2 hackers, we only have 1. And we needed 1 muscle, we have 2 of those. Here's where your jack of all trades comes in. Now you need to decide if you want to use yours, or your opponent is going to decide if they want to do theirs. You're going to take this and place it into your hand and place both of your hands below the table. You can switch around your token if you want to. And then you're going to go 1, 2, 3. You're both going to put your fist out and reveal if you have or have not decided to use your token. If you have used your token, that'll count as any of the missing people. We only needed 1 missing thing, so if I had used mine, we had succeeded at heisting this factory. If I had not, and my opponent had not, we would both have failed, and we would both have to pay 20K to the supply. But because I used my token, we were successful, so both of us will receive the 50K payout for that job. So once you have done a full round of that, any crew that are underneath the trash icon, you go ahead and put those into the discard pile along with any crew that you sent out onto any of the missions. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to discard all of the jobs that were out there. You're going to put out 6 brand new jobs. Every player is going to get 8 brand new cards in a 3-player game, and you're going to draft again. Now, before you draft again, you're going to flip over your board here because you draft in the opposite direction in round 2. And this is a handy reminder for you. It has the arrow telling you which way to go, and then your little things on the opposite side of the board, which is fantastic. You go ahead and do that drafting round, and then you will flip over for the final round, and then you will complete that round. Now, one thing that you can do, in addition to putting stuff under the trash or putting stuff under a number, is that you have this token with these stars on it. So in any round of drafting, if you have any cards that have a star on them, you can put multiples of the same type of crew underneath this token. So for example, if I had these 2 hackers, I can go ahead and put them underneath this token and put them on my side there. Now, these would not be used during the assigning the crew, and also these do not get discarded at the end of that round. What happens is you will go ahead and hold on to these cards with that token underneath of them, and then you will go ahead and do your full round of drafting. Once you've done your full round of drafting, you go ahead and take these cards, and these cards are going to go into your hand. So you'll have some extra cards that you can use for assigning crew around the different jobs, but you won't know what those jobs are when you have assigned these to this token. But if you manage to have 3 of the same underneath your token at the end of the 3rd round, well, then you get a special super duper ability that you can use in the final round of the game. Now, there is a list here on the back of the payouts card here that tells you all the different things that you can do. For example, I had the hackers there, and the hackers will be good, especially if you were collecting these locked hard drives, because remember, they're worth absolutely nothing at the end of the game if you don't have a key. But the hackers here give you an ability, and you'll just keep 1 here on your board to remind you that you have that ability. And the hacker's unpaired hard drives and digital keys are worth 50k each at the end of the game. So if you happen to have some keys or happen to have hard drives that don't get unlocked, well, they're not worth nothing. They're at least worth 50k each, which is absolutely fantastic. So once again, 3 rounds of that drafting, and you're trying to semi-cooperate with the other crime bosses. And once you have completed the 3rd round and you have gone ahead and did all of the jobs out there, you will go ahead and move on to robbing the bank. Now, when you rob the bank, all the other tokens are discarded and they are gone. You will just have whatever you have with your person. You don't need your Jack of all trades tokens either. So you will have all of the money and all of the stuff that you accrued. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to reach into here and we're going to pull out 5 different tokens at random and place them on the vault floor. So those tokens go right there onto the vault floor. So then whoever has the least amount of tokens, payout tokens, not money, but payout tokens, goes ahead and takes the first player marker. So let's just say that's me. Let's just say I only have these 2 tokens. So I will get the first player marker, and the first player marker will allow me to take the first draw out of the bank. So the way you do this phase here now, starting with the first player, then going clockwise around the table, is you're going to reach into the vaults and you're going to take 1 token, you're going to place that into your fist here, and you're going to pull that out, and then everybody else is going to go ahead and do the same thing. Once everybody has or has not a token in their hand, you're going to go 1, 2, 3 and flip. And starting with the first player, you can go ahead and take the token that you have, or you can trade it with something on the floor there. So this is a 100k token. That is fantastic. But remember, in the previous rounds, I do have this hard drive, and there are keys there, and that would actually double what this is. So I think I'm actually going to go for that because that's double the money. You go ahead and you leave that on the floor, and then you go ahead and you pick up the item that you want. Now, if you do trade with the floor, you go ahead and you pass the first player token on to the next player. So they'll be first player in the next drawing round. Now, these tokens you keep separate from your other tokens. One of the things they suggest is you keep one of your little markers right here, and then you just line your stuff up next to your marker, so that way it doesn't get mixed into your other things right there. So we will continue on. Now, there are these police tokens in here, and every time a police token is drawn, you go ahead and you add it to this police board. You start on the number of players, so if we're starting at 3 players, it will start here, and then as soon as a token is on the busted, any player who has decided to keep robbing from the bank will be busted, and they will lose all the tokens that they pulled from the bank. They don't lose anything they got in the previous rounds, though, or in the previous part of the game. Now also, when you're drawing from the bank, if you reach in and have your fist out and you say you have nothing, Well, you can't trade with the floor. You are out. You cannot draw any more tokens. You have fled the scene, but all of your tokens that you have collected are locked in for the finale of the game. Once everybody has decided to pass on robbing the bank, or once the police have showed up, whoever is not busted goes ahead and adds up the value of all of their stuff, including the stuff that happened in the previous part of the game, and whoever has the most value of loot will win the game.
Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Pull up a chair at punchboardmedia.com.
So that is a brief explanation of the big score. I really like how it combines two different styles of game into one. So you have that drafting in the very beginning, and then it moves on to this very interesting press your luck. So you don't know, you're trying to get the stuff if you're pulling hard drives, and if you've got a whole bunch of different hard drives, something like that, you're trying to pull those keys. So you're trying to, like, oh, I need this key, I need a key, especially if you don't have that hacker's ability. Now, every time I played, I've never been able to actually get the ability, so I've never actually experienced that part of the game, but it's something to look out for and try to get. And also, if you're not able to get those cards, you can actually use those in the final round for something else or other rounds. So it kind of gives you some extra cards to use. So it might always be good if you see something with a star that you're not going to use to go ahead and tuck under that little star token and hold on to it. You never know if you're going to need it. So having that extra card advantage is sometimes very, very helpful. But this game is a lot of fun. I like the strategy of it because you're looking at your other players. You're like, are you going to number 3? I want you to go number 3. You're trying to will them to go to the things that you want because you don't want to pay out when you don't have a successful heist of those different locations. And pulling out those police tokens is sometimes stressful. You're like, oh no! Especially one of the games that I played, we pulled out, I think everybody had a police token all in one pull. And in a 3-player game, you are just 2 away from ending the game if something like that happens. So people start dropping out real quick, and then trading with the floor sometimes gets very, very interesting because you're like, well, of course I want that. Until eventually the floor is just full of stuff that nobody wants or something that's so cheap, it's better to go for the bank itself. So if the big score looks like something that you would be interested in, down below I'm going to have a link for their Kickstarter as soon as that is up and ready to go. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and help support Cloak and Meeple. You can always go over to Patreon, or you can also go over to Pod Pledge and pledge to Cloak and Meeple. You get the same rewards and benefits there of getting these videos a little bit early. And then as I add stuff onto both of those services, you'll be able to get those awesome things. You can also go over to geekygoodies.com and buy a Cloak and Meeple shirt. Those have the big logo on them. And part of those proceeds do help out this channel. And once again, thanks for watching.